Hello, welcome back to Oliver's Greenhouse. Now it's been quite a while since I've uploaded any content. That's entirely my fault. I've just been super busy. I've been to do a lot of work at the weekends. There's just been no time for making any content. And to be honest, I don't ever want this to be sort of something that I resent doing. So it's only really when I've got the time to come out here and make some content, make a video, that I will then obviously do so. But I've got a couple of things. We're going to be filming a really big video today outside in the garden, actually not in the greenhouse. That's going to be quite interesting. But in the interim, I've popped in here just have a quick look at some of the things which are in flower at the moment and I think are actually interesting and worth having a look at. So what I'll do is I'll grab and collect some of those and get them to one side. We can have a look at those. The main thing we're going to be looking at is one of the bulbophyllums, which is in orchids, one that's a first time bloomer for me. And it's a real beaut. I think we can have a look at that and have a little chat about how I look after it. And yeah, we'll go from there. So only a quick little video, but it's going to be quite interesting. Okay, so there's quite a few things which are actually out in bloom at the moment in the greenhouse. Some of which aren't going to be necessarily immediately apparent from this distance, but quite a few of the Scaphosepalum are in flower. We're not going to be having a look at those today. What we are going to be having a look at is what's in centre of shot at the moment. Now this is bulbophyllum taiwaniense, and it is put out its first flower spike for me. So it's a first time bloomer, like I said. It's produced this sort of orangey inflorescence with these very unusual sort of like coppery coloured flowers. It's very pretty. What I'll do is I'll pick it up in a minute and we'll have a little bit of a closer look at it. But it's growing on one of these DIY orchid mounts with some sphagnum moss and some grow stone and a little bit of medium grade fir bark. And it sits like all the blinds are rolled back on the outside. So it sits up here on the grow wall at the moment, along with the majority of my mounted orchids. And it has bloomed. So yeah, I've been watching the spike develop for a little while. Today is the day when almost all of the blooms are actually out. So it looks really pretty. You can see it's got this really unusual sort of coppery colour to it. It's very pretty. And as far as I can tell, no, it just tickles my nose. It doesn't smell of anything. It's kind of a hard one to hold still enough to actually have a look. Give you an idea of the sort of size of this plant. It's only very twee. It's a very small plant. It's only a number of pseudo bulbs actually on it. If we zoom you guys right out like that, there we go. Give you an idea, an impression of the actual size of the plant. So tiny little flowers for a tiny little plant. These guys do get quite big apparently. Over time the plants will grow on to be quite decent specimen sized plants, but then you'll get numerous inflorescences coming from the plant, so a lot more impressive. And it's got these tiny little pseudo bulbs that creep over the surface of this mountain. The roots are proliferating into the growing media inside. But it's a great little orchid, and like I say, it's a first time bloomer for me. So yeah, very pretty. Hopefully this thing will sort of double in size and we'll get a few more flowers on it over the next few years. Also noticed this morning my Dendrobium kingianum is out in flower for the first time this year. A couple of flower spikes on it. It's only a tiny little plant. I got this thing when it was microcosmically small. It was like literally one tiny little stem like this. And since then it's grown on to be, you know, quite a size. There's a dead pseudo bulb. So they sort of just die off as they go along. But it's produced, yeah, one flower open, one flower sort of semi-open, two flower spikes, a little kiki up here. Whenever it produces them, I just snap them off and just pop them down in the bottom of the pot there. It's growing in one of my little DIY terracotta pots here, one I've drilled myself. Obviously Scaphosepalum tuberosum in the background. This guy just never stops flowering. It's just absolutely covered in blooms at the moment. We're not here looking at that. On to the next plant. Another first time bloomer for me, this time a carnivorous plant. This is Pinguiclia jaumavensis. This was given to me by Mark Anderson as part of a plant swap we did. It's a tiny little plant, absolutely miniature. It can't be much bigger than my thumb, the end of my thumb probably. But it's produced a lovely little bloom there. And the actual plant itself is beyond the flower. So if we put that, you can just see it here. It seems to have started to form divide into two different rosettes. It's almost like it's dividing into two different plants. I'll put my thumb next to it. You'll be able to see how small this plant actually is. But like most Pingricklea, it produces a very pretty little purpley pink flower with very, very defined calyx inside, so it's very easy to see the ovules and stamen and stuff on the inside. So a very pretty little flower. Very happy to have this guy in the greenhouse at the moment. Another carnivorous plant which is coming on leaps and bounds at the moment is this Utricularia reniformis. We've got a nice new growth here. This is a developing leaf. There's some sort of slime growing on top of the sphagnum. This guy's just growing just pure sphagnum. Well, there's a little bit of growth stone on there. And underneath, when I picked it up, I realised if I zoom in, we might be able to see close up, might be able to see some of the traps. So yeah, this is the root mass which is coming out the bottom. See that large swelling, that little swelling by my thumbnail? That's one of the little traps produced by the bladderwort that sucks in, I don't know, nematodes and other small organisms before being digested by the plant. It's sort of like growing up the outside. I'm not sure whether this is going to be a little plant or something, but it's sort of growing up the outside. Yeah, quite interesting because you can actually see some of the actual carnivorous parts of the plant there, the little traps. So that's quite interesting. This guy's really started to grow like a maniac in the last sort of few weeks, so it'll be interesting to see what that turns into. Okay, another one of my plants which I nearly forgot about. I nearly finished making the video, nearly signed off, but then I remembered that my Coleogene cristata is in bloom as well at the moment, and it looks really, really nice. It's starting to become a really good sized plant, sprawling a lot. It's not long before it starts heading out over the sides of this hanging basket. Now, this guy's growing in I've put a hanging basket liner in there, and it's just small orchid bark with a bit of perlite mixed in with it, and I just keep this guy really regularly watered, and it stays well hydrated, and we get a lot of blooms on it. It's a really nice little plant, and once again, I got this thing when it was like maybe 2 or 3 pseudo bulbs, so hopefully you guys can see that there. And it produces these lovely white flowers with this sort of like very pronounced golden throat, which has got like all sorts of weird lumps and bumps inside. If I bring one in, you might be able to see. There we go. So it's got these beautiful sort of like yellow throat to it. No obvious smell. No, I lie. There is a slight smell. My nose isn't the greatest, to be fair. It's used to 2-stroke, and that flower's actually going over a little bit there, unfortunately. So yeah, that's how I treat it. It likes it to be kept quite cool, and also not too bright. I keep it underneath the benches, and it seems to be very happy there. It grows happily away without any problem in that location. And every year it provides me with a really good show of flowers. So yeah, I'm very, very happy, very easy to care for little orchid, and very rewarding as well. Another orchid which is still in flower, that's probably coming to the end of its flowering period. I'm just going to move you guys over just a tiny little bit. There we go. This is Rincastile Bictoniensis. Now, I put some pictures of this on Instagram a little while ago because it's produced, for such a small plant, it's produced this really quite impressive flower spike. It's another one that doesn't smell. I do like an orchid that smells. It's just an extra little reason to grow them. But it produces these very funny sort of like big, showy, purple-lipped flowers with these sort of like maroon, magenta-y spots on the petals. And it's been in flower for ages, and it doesn't seem to show any signs of wanting to fade or anything. So I'll hold that up out the way. Hopefully the camera will focus on that. You can see what that looks like. It's a great orchid. It's not one that I was familiar with. In fact, I was given this one by a subscriber. So yeah, a nice little orchid. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. That's about everything of interest that's currently open. There's lots of other things which are nearly there. I've actually got some buds and some flower spikes forming my poroglossums. I'm very interested. There'll definitely be a separate video about those because they're such an unusual flower that has the ability to trap insects. So we'll be looking at those in some closer detail. So now I'm on to the main video of the day. More details about that coming quite soon. So thanks for watching. Please continue to watch my content. If you like the stuff I'm producing, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like down below, and stay tuned for another video of Oliver's Greenhouse. Thanks again.